Welcome back to Restore 2023. Today we're in 2 Chronicles, chapters 9 and 10. Over the last few chapters, the chronicler has been describing the golden age of Israel during the reign of Solomon, the establishment of a peaceful and secure government, the construction of the temple, the installment of the ark, and the dedication of the temple, in which the Lord appears in fire and his glory fills the space. God has come to dwell amongst his people, in the place they have built for him. The chronicler uses the visit of the Queen of Sheba to highlight just what God has done for Israel. They have a wise and just king on the throne. The nations are coming to learn about God through them, and the people rejoice in the riches of the land. As Proverbs 29 verse 2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. And the key to Solomon's success is given in verse 8 of chapter 9, which is really the hinge verse of this chapter. God has placed Solomon on his throne as king to rule on his behalf. God is Israel's true king. The human king is merely his appointed representative. The power is God's. The authority is God's. The throne is God's. And as long as Solomon remembers that, he gets to sit on that throne. That's the basis of a theocratic monarchy, which is what Israel is supposed to be. But despite the picture of splendour and the chronicler's positive view of Solomon in particular, and the monarchy in general, there are warning signs in our passage that things are about to go wrong. There's a faint whiff of something rotten at the heart of Solomon's apparently perfect rule. And we see it first in verse 13 of chapter 9. Which tells us that Solomon receives 666 talents of gold a year in income. Now that is a vast amount, equivalent to about 25 tons. Yet the number 666 is likely to be significant because it falls just short of the perfect biblical number of 7, or 777 in this case. This could be a hint from the chronicler that despite his vast and ever-increasing wealth, Solomon was never satisfied, always regarding it as incomplete. He always wanted more. It's hard not to be reminded of David, who, unsatisfied with all that the Lord had given him, lusted after the wife of his close friend, Bathsheba. Worse still, Solomon is acquiring vast numbers of horses and chariots, so many that he has to have cities built to store them. This is a direct violation of the law, which warns against relying on military strength for the security of the kingdom. The fact that he imports them from Egypt and other countries is even worse. Deuteronomy 17 verse 16 says, "Even so, the king must not acquire many horses for himself, or return the people to Egypt in order to acquire more horses, since the Lord has said to you, you must never return that way again." I think we've got to ask ourselves, what does Solomon need with horses and chariots? He's a peaceful reign. His borders are secure, his enemies are subdued around him. His accumulation of this military technology suggests he's not really trusting God to establish his kingdom, and is taking steps to preserve it himself. What the chronicler doesn't say in our passage is almost as important as what he does. We've read the parallel account in Kings together, 1 Kings. So we know that Solomon also took many wives from nations the Israelites were not supposed to intermarry with, and that these wives, predictably, brought their idols right into the heart of Israel. And Solomon begins to worship these gods himself. So God promised to tear the kingdom away from him and give it to Jeroboam, one of his officials, whilst retaining a small portion for the house of David, for David's sake. The chronicler can't bear to include this bit, as it doesn't really fit his portrayal of Solomon, but it is important to remember. Unlike his father David, Solomon's heart was divided and not wholly devoted to the Lord by the end of his reign, leading directly to the division of the kingdom. God is sovereign in the poor advice of Rehoboam's friends and Rehoboam's own foolish tyranny, using them both to accomplish the punishment he had announced to Solomon. Israel's golden age is about to come crashing down, yet God's faithfulness to the house of David and to the covenant endures.